Welcome, everyone. I am so incredibly glad you're here today. We're diving right into a really fascinating piece of human communication, how to express disappointment in English naturally, without making things super awkward or stepping into a cultural minefield. You know, it's not just about memorizing vocabulary words. Understanding the cultural weight behind those words is where the real magic happens. So, let's jump right in. Have you ever found yourself in that deeply awkward situation where a friend or coworker shares some bad news and you accidentally offend them just by reacting poorly? Maybe you overreacted to something tiny, or worse, underreacted to something huge. That instantly makes the other person think, are they actually listening to me? Do they get it at all? And it instantly creates this wall between you. But here's the thing to remember. The goal in daily conversation is connection, not perfection. Today we're going to figure out how to match your empathy perfectly to the situation. So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at convenient ways to use the word bummer. Second, a big warning on when absolutely not to use it. Third, we'll cover some great synonyms like let down and downer. And fourth, we'll bring it all together in a practical role play about a disappointing vacation. Let's get to it. All right, Section 1. Convenient ways to use bummer. Let's kick things off with what is honestly going to become your absolute best friend in casual English conversations. The word bummer. The cultural weight of this word is just brilliant. It's the ultimate Goldilocks solution. Not too heavy, not too light. It's used specifically for light to medium disappointment. It's playful. It's casual. When you tell a friend, oh, that's a bummer, what you are really signaling to them is, I hear you, I've been there. You're showing genuine empathy, but, and this is crucial, you aren't treating a minor inconvenience like it's the end of the world. So what exactly does a light to medium disappointment look like in real life? Well, imagine you're out on a date, you walk up to this cafe you've been dying to try, and it's closed. It's annoying, right? But it's not a tragedy. That is the perfect time for an, what a bummer. Or say you board a flight and realize you're stuck in the middle seat. You have to fight for the armrests, you can't look out the window, and you have to awkwardly ask the person next to you to move every time you want to stand up. That is literally the textbook definition of a bummer. Or maybe it starts pouring rain right before a picnic. Just a simple sigh and a bummer captures that frustration perfectly.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. Warning, when not to use it.
Now, every great tool has its boundaries, right? And you absolutely have to know when this word is off limits. We have to draw a hard line here between mild annoyances and true tragedies. If someone comes to you dealing with a life-altering event, a death in the family, a tough divorce, losing their job, a serious illness, using the word bummer is a massive mistake. Calling a true tragedy a bummer instantly trivializes their pain. It sounds cruel, it sounds flippant, and it makes you look incredibly tone-deaf. If someone shatters their spine in a skiing accident, that's a tragedy, not a bummer. Reserve this slang strictly for things that are easily fixable and don't leave deep scars. And here is another major red flag. Never ever call a person a bummer to their face. If you look at a coworker or an acquaintance and say, you're such a bummer, you are directly insulting them. You're basically calling them a party pooper, someone who kills the mood, or a Debbie Downer. Saying that to someone's face is just, well, it's unkind. It's going to create a super awkward, tense environment, especially in the workplace, and it will absolutely backfire on you. So just don't do it. All right, Section 3. Synonyms. Let down and downer. Now we want to expand that vocabulary so you aren't sounding like a broken record in your conversations. Variety is the spice of life, right? So, let down and downer are two fantastic synonyms you need in your toolkit, but they actually have slightly different nuances. A letdown is used specifically when your expectations aren't met. Think of false advertising. You see beautiful, glowing pictures of an Airbnb online, but when you actually show up, the yard is completely dead and the rooms are tiny. Your expectations were up here, but reality was down there. That is a letdown. A downer, on the other hand, is an energy killer. It actively drags the mood down. Imagine everyone is having a great time at a fancy company dinner and management suddenly decides to announce budget cuts. Completely ruins the vibe, right? That is a downer. Or watching a TV series finale you've been waiting years for and it's just awful. Also a downer. You see, using the formal word disappointment in casual chats like this usually sounds way too heavy and stiff. These synonyms keep things feeling natural and conversational.
Which brings us to Section 4, Role Play, a disappointing vacation.
This is the part I'm most excited about. Let's put all this theory into a practical, simulated conversation. We'll see exactly how to use these new words in a natural, empathetic flow. Imagine you and a friend are on a trip, and it's just not quite what you hoped for. Person A might kick off the conversation like this. I was so excited for this vacation. The hotel pictures looked so good, but the reality is kind of a letdown. Notice how letdown captures that feeling of being tricked by the photos? High expectations, poor reality.
Then your friend jumps in, showing that perfect matched empathy. I know, the rooms are smaller and a little outdated. It's such a bummer. By tagging, it's such a bummer onto the end, they are totally validating your frustration about the tiny rooms, but keeping the tone light. It's not a disaster, it's just a bummer.
And you keep it flowing, adding just one more layer of mild complaint to the pile. The hotel restaurant isn't the best either. The food is okay, but the service is really slow. Building up that shared experience of a slightly annoying vacation.
And your friend wraps up the exchange perfectly. Yeah, and the staff seem like they really don't want to be here. It's such a downer. Using downer here is brilliant because the staff's bad attitude is literally dragging the energy of the trip down. It perfectly describes a mood-ruining element.
So let's break down exactly why this back and forth works so well. Imagine if, for that entire conversation, those two friends just kept repeating the formal word disappointment. This hotel is a disappointment. Yes, the room is a disappointment. The staff is a disappointment. Wow, right? It sounds incredibly stiff and kind of ruins the vibe even more. But by tossing around casual slang like bummer, letdown, and downer, you are signaling to each other, hey, this isn't great, but it's not the end of the world. It keeps the conversation flowing and, most importantly, maintains that essential human connection.
So I want to leave you with this one provocative thought today. How will choosing the exact right level of empathy transform your relationships when you're speaking English? Remember, it is all about connection, not perfection. By matching the tone to the situation, using bummer for that middle seat on an airplane, and reserving your deep, serious sympathy for life's actual tragedies, you avoid offensive missteps and build genuine trust with the people you talk to. The vocabulary you choose sets the tone, and the tone builds the relationship. Go try this out in your next conversation and see the difference for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Got it! What's up? Catch up! Aha!